Alright, it's a little late on the camera. There's the start of an A fleet race. I don't even have my monopod down. Alright, we're going to shake for a minute. A little earthquake. Jump for the pole, Chris.
I got it.
Alright, little light wind air day. Second day of IOM race week. Mr. George Pedrick leading the parade in the 157 boat. Craig Mackey, the 2.9. Chris Davidson in the 9.9. Hugging the shore. Boy with a dream. Jim Sears, 7.4. Tacks to port, much to his chagrin. Rough wind angles today. A little southerly. Not set up for a pond that runs east-west. But Gary Bowl explores the extremes of the far shoreline. The 7.1 boat. Sure what good strategy is here today. Everybody's trying to figure it out. Gary went to the far shore. Coming in high on port. We got Mr. Mark Olson up there, the 5.5 in front of Gary. So they like the left side. It's a long slog back on the right. So I guess get on the port, look for a hole. If you're up front, tack where you want. That's what Mark's going to do. So Mark Olson in the 5.5 boat. Yeah, rounded in first. Gary Bowl, 7.1, right behind him in second. As the master tuners, master racers, master strategist, master tactic, all up in front. This A fleet race. Slow moving today. Here in sunny San Diego. Living the dream, sailing on a Tuesday. How's work? How's your computer screen treating you today? Hopefully you're watching some sailing. The internet is a wonderful thing. As Gary and Mark look for wind, Mark gets a little puff, squirts off the front. Says, Gary, this way. Follow me. Mark in the 5.5 boat out in front. Gary Bowl in the 7.1, hot on his heels. But don't count out the Tabasco, the 29 of Craig Mackey. Followed by another white Britpop, 43. And Florida's own Gary Winton in the 5.4 boat, who taught his transmitter how to swim yesterday. It's probably its first and only lesson here in the saltwater Mission Bay. But Gary's got a rolling hobby shop in the back of his van. Boy of the dream, Jimmy Shear shooting into that number 5 spot. There's nowhere to bump up an A fleet, Jimmy, so head out. Heading up to number 1. As Gary Bowl looks like he's gotten the better of Mr. Golson on the downwind by 3 feet. As Mark and Gary split the marks. Gary takes the, I don't know what we'd call this today with the southern, I guess that's the leeward mark, so maybe that outside mark's a little more favored today. But Gary on starboard, running through the fleet. Mark went to the outside. So Gary sails into the doldrums as Mark over here in the 5.5 is powered up on port and going. But Gary's heading over for the photographers on the foreshore. But out of nowhere, Mr. Gary Winton in a 5.4 boat. Must have tacked early to take a puff up the middle. So looks like green boats are fast in light wind. I believe Gary's sailing a Vickers boat, V11 most likely. Mr. Bowl in second place with his sightseeing mission to the far shore. Saying hi to the photographers. Now he says back to racing. Has Mark in the 5.5 boat on his hip. Mr. Chris Stager in the 8.8 boat. IOM with DF95 stickers. It's probably breaking a rule somewhere from the IOM purists, but Chris says, I don't care. Whatever makes my boat fast and pretty, that's what I'm doing. Jimmy Sears, get a move on. You were in 5th a little while ago.
Yeah.
I need you on my footage. Well, sorry, got distracted. Adult ADD is a real thing. As everybody thought Gary was crazy on his sightseeing mission, but he shows crazy like a fox as the 7.1 nibbles away at the 5.4 of Gary Winton. So Florida versus Idaho might as well be good versus evil here at the IOM shenanigans. So we head up to the windward mark for the second time. After the start. Well, hold on to your horses, folks. We are, can't tell, can't read my time. Let's see if I can read my time. 7 minutes into this race. As Gary Bowl is getting smothered by Gary Winton. Gary Winton says, no wind for you, Gary Bowl, on the downwind. I'm going to squirt above you. I'm going to be a menace this whole downwind leg, says Mr. Winton. Gary's ahead of him on shore. Long legs. Hey Gary, I'm saving you from the pole today.
Thanks. Appreciate it, Dan.
That's why I'm here for you.
That's all we can ask.
All right.
Ahead of the Northwest.
All right, Mr. Winton, keeping the sails full. Gary paid me $20 to distract Gary Bowl. So mission accomplished. Engage Gary in a little chit chat. But I think Gary can find lots of different ways to beat people. As we head downwind, the jibing will continue until morale improves. Gary Winton getting a puff in the 5.4. Gary Bowl sightseeing tours in second place, 7.1. So George Pedrick has snuck his way into third place in the 1.57. Looks like Dennis Rogers in the 4.3 in fourth. Chris Stager in the 8.8 in fifth. Mark Olson matching his numbers, 5.5. Oh no, 6th. You're one off, Mark. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep, Mark at 6. You gotta move up a spot, match your sail numbers. Craig Mackey on the outside in the 2.9. Let's watch a little tacking duel as Gary Witt and Gary Bowl come upwind. Gary Bowl heading right to the island of death. Not going to shoot the pier inside the little yellow flags. Not going to risk it. Really smart move. But George, you got to watch out for George. George in the 157 is powered up and moving on this right side. As we try to get back to our start-finish line. So Gary Witt has to protect both sides of the pond here. As we head upwind, looks like Mr. Pedrick, Gary's old neighbor, showing him the business. Says, you move out of the neighborhood, Gary, no more favors. Back of the fleet. George heads up to the finish. It's going to be close here between George and Gary, although it looks like Gary might be able to lay it, but I don't know. Things are getting shifty. Things are getting shifty on the finish. George is stalling, praying for wind. Looks like Mr. Winton is going to get there first in the 5-4 boat. As I squint at my teeny tiny screen. Nice race, Gary. Gary Winton. Looks like Gary Bowl is going to get second, the 7-1. George, she's going 90 degrees to the course. Trying to get over to that finish line. Will be third. Decides to duck Gary a little bit, give him a solid on the finish for the old neighbor's sake. There's Chris, tries to reach into the finish line. Oh, big yawn, Dan. Get some sleep or some coffee. Chris Steger in fourth. Mr. Dennis Rogers in fifth. And the rest of the parade coming in. Oh, Mark getting headed on port. Craig Mackey stumbling across the line. In front of Mark. Mark in the 5-5 boat. Larry Grant coming in there. And our crowd favorite, Jimmy Sears, 74 boat, heading towards the finish line. I meant to borrow some.
Yeah.
Do you have some? I'll take it. I will slather away. And we're off. San Diego IOM race week, whatever we're calling this regatta.
Coastal Cup.
Coastal Cup Intergalactics Light Wind Olympics. We're off to the races. Just like that, Craig Mackey shot out of a cannon. Heading upwind for the first time. But in hot pursuit, Dr. Bruce Anderson in the 1-6, Chris Steiger in the 8-8 boat, Eric Grant in the 8-5 boat, Gary Bowl in the 7-1, Dennis Rogers in the 4-3. It's the who's who of IOM racing here today, folks. Top guys in the nation. A lot of the guys that are going to Worlds, some of the guys. Gary Bull with the little flaps of starboardism. When you're on, that's when you are on port and you think you're on starboard. So cut up to the windward mark. The first time, Mr. Mackey makes it there first. Followed by half of Team Rogers Racing. Dennis Rogers in the 4-3 boat. Powers up around Craig. Just drives over the top of him. Mr. Larry Grant making model sailing great again in the 8-5 boat. And Mark Olson sneaking up into 4th place on the outside. Mark likes to just wear you down. He'll sail behind you the whole race until 10 yards from the finish line. And then slit your throat.
Crazy shift.
As we head downwind for the first time, Jess Atkinson making a pass in the 5-6 boat. Squeaks into 4th place. Dennis Opton for the near side mark. Coming up the beach. On the parade, Larry Grant on the outside, Craig Mackey inside, Jess Atkinson on the outside, Bruce Anderson on the inside. Everybody picking a different course. And looky here, Mr. Dennis Rogers finds himself in 1st place. Craig Mackey in 2nd. Looks like Larry Grant snuck up to 3rd place in the 8-5 boat. Go get him, Craig. Don't let him get away with that stuff. Larry and Craig tack off the beach, force Jess to do some maneuvering. Jess says, I like port, I'm staying on it. Do a couple ducks, but looks like it paid off. Mr. Mark Olson going way across the beach, pulling a trick out of the Bull Golson playbook. Getting over to the far shore, just reaching up like a champ. Got a case of the swirlies over there. As Dennis tacks back across in 1st. Trying to get to those windward marks. A big reach. Little bitty beat to the marks. But we're making the best out of the southerly wind today. Southwest wind. Who knows when it gets in all those trees, plays pinball over there, spits out on the pond. Was he going to take us out?
Oh, I don't know. I would stand next to the pole, so I...
Try to save them from themselves?
Yeah.
All right, Dennis Rogers still leading the parade up front, 4-3 boat. Mark Olson with that trip up the far shore is now into 2nd place. Mackey in the 2-9 boat, back to third. Mr. Gary Winton, Pride of Florida. Only Florida representative here, and he drove. He's in fourth. George Pedrick said, I drove also, but from Washington State. Or not from Washington, originally California. Losing my mind. Dennis looks like he's got a half a leg on, folks. The majority of the pack. Maybe about 20 yards on Mr. Olson. Another 10 on Mr. Mackey. Mr. Gary Winton in the 5-4 boat. George Pedrick angling across in the puff, trying to get some downwind speed in the 157. Let's see which side Dennis goes to. Dennis will go inside. Head back upwind. Looks like Mark will follow on the inside. Mark's eyeballing that inside also. And we'll head back upwind. Dennis crossing the fleet on starboard. Where'd he go? There he is. 3 on starboard. Mark going to follow suit quite quickly. Craig Mackey still hanging in there in the 2-9 boat. Where's Craig? There's Craig. Craig tacking again. Didn't like what he saw. Pick up a little lift here. As Mark tries to chase down Dennis. There's Dennis. Mark is right there in the 5-3 boat. Mr. Mackey in the 2-9. Can't remember. Is this another lap or another finish? Looks like a finish. You see Freddie running. Mr. Giljansky running. The race to the finish. 2 men on foot. 2 men on sea. See who gets there first. Mark has closed the gap significantly. Maybe because Dennis felt like he just needed a cover. Dennis, one more tack on his starboard. Mark gonna tack underneath him. See if he can give him the luffing business. It looks like Dennis gets there first. Mark gets there second. Craig Mackey in third. Larry Grant coming in on puff, port puff, PP. Everybody going slow, picking off a few boats. But being on port, he ducks George. Slams a big tag to squirt across. All right, a couple boats tangled up at the start. It's Mark Olson and Chris Steiger. As Gary Bull heads off the front in the light air open in San Diego. You got George Pedrick out front in the 157.
I was already starting the tacking before he attacked.
Oh, I didn't see that. I was looking at Gary.
Little Gary confusion here. There's Gary, Barry, or Gary.
Larry, Gary, and Harry.
Or Larry and Gary Barry could all be involved in the communications, but kind of turns into who's on first. But Craig Mackey coming up. Coming up the inside. Mark and Chris still trying to get untangled back there. George still out in front. Mark with asked for redress. Fouled on the start. Larry's on the 605. Looking to merge. I'm dozing here on a Tuesday afternoon. As Craig Mackey gets the upper hand on George on the downwind. So the 2-9 boating first, followed by George Pedrick. Followed by Gary Bull. Followed by Barry Donaher and Jess Atkinson. And Gene Elliott. All coming to the inside. Gonna be crowded here. Oh. Lenny calling out Gene. Some mark roundings. No brotherly love in that Airbnb. As some lead changes have happened, we got Craig Mackey first, Gary Bull in second, 71. George Pedrick looking for an answer. His new blue boat, the 157. George might get the better of these guys this time. Everybody consolidating here. The windward mark. Heading up. Got George. The 157. Gary in the 7-1. Hitting the ley line. Barry coming in on port. Ducking, threading the needle. Tack and jibe complete. Mr. Donaher gets back in the mix into 4th place. As Gary Bowl takes his turn at the...
Sit out of the box. Look at this on the inside.
I don't know. Gary Bowl taking his turn at 1st place. But Jess and Craig might have something to say about it as we head back downwind for the 2nd time. Gary in the 7-1 boat out front. George, the 157, he took some time out front. Ooh, getting tired. Mr. Atkinson heat things up. Making things happen. As Gary makes it to the leeward marks first. Gary goes the inside, followed by George Pedrick. Jeff's going to go to the outside, see if he can make some magic happen. Let's head back to the finish line. Little puff coming in. Gary attacks again. Claw our way back to the finish line. Gary on attack all by himself. Head upwind. Looks like he's covered the fleet. Does a 179-degree tacks. Becoming common here today. Tacks back again with good pressure. As Gary roars upwind. Got George and Craig battling out for 2nd and 3rd. George in the 157, Craig in the 29 Tabasco. But Gary does the tack install. One of our favorite maneuvers out here at the San Diego Model Yacht Pond. Trying to get things powered up again. Pouring some coal in the boiler. As we head back upwind, making stuff happen here. Could be an interesting finish. George tacks on to starboard first. Going to force Craig to tack underneath him. Gary's higher but further away. Maybe reach off to the finish. I think Gary might make it. As they all shoot the line. Didn't quite hear it. Not sure who won that one, but tight racing. 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, Mr. Jess Atkinson. 5th looks like it's going to be Barry Donaher. 6th, Larry Grant. 7th, Mr. Gene Elliott. Maybe. 54. So Gary Winton. Trying not to be bottom 4, trying to stay up. All right. A little pirouette dance there. As we head up on an A Fleet race, brought to you by Dan is still stuck in B Fleet. Considering maybe just starting a different career. Anyways, Gary Bull out front, 7-1, Barry Donaher, George Pedrick coming up the inside, Barry in the 2-7 yellow boat, George in the 157 blue boat, Mr. Mark Olson out in front in 5-5. Got Nick Allen ducking. Look out, Larry. Pole here. I'll hang an orange triangle on my butt. Slow moving. As Jess Atkins squirting off over here to the side. We're back to our normal windward leeward course here on the pond. Looks like things shifted back around to the west a little more. A little more tacking upwind. Gary Bull's got the yips over there on the other side. Just sailed into a salad bowl of wind. He's questioning life choices at the moment, like the rest of us. Let's see. Wow, I wonder who's out front. Mr. Mark Olson in the 5-5 boat. Trying to get up there. Has to do a little tack to make it. Looks like Barry Donaher in the 2-7 boat right behind him. As we head back downwind. Jess Atkinson shot out of a cannon in the 5-6. Trying to say, eat some dirty air here, Barry. This is my pond. Go back to Utah, lick your wounds. But fourth place looks like George Pedrick in the 157. Nick Allen up there, the 8-7 boat. So Nick's got to be happy with that. But keep it moving, Nick. Keep it moving, because everybody's coming. We got Gary Winton in the 5-4 boat, running up the stern of Mr. Pedrick. There's Mark Golson, beating him on the water, beating him on land. Documented by his wife Jennifer and 7,836,432 pictures. As we head downwind on an A Fleet race. Feels like a Sunday, but it's really Tuesday. Mr. Barry Donaher, firm grasp on second place on the second downwind leg of this A Fleet. First downwind leg, jeez. You are correct. I stand corrected. I count on the internet to scrub all my errors. Let me know every mistake I make. If you want to know the right answer, just post the wrong answer. Everybody will tell you. Bart comes to the inside, goes through the fleet on starboard, unscathed. Got Jess sneaking up the outside. Got Barry Donaher in the 2-7 boat on Mark's heels. George Pedrick trying to make something happen. Nick Allen in the 8-7 boat. White Britpop bouncing upwind. Big choppy conditions here in San Diego. As Gary Bull, the 7-1, and Dr. Bruce navigate the fleet on starboard, just like the books tell you to do it, because we all do things perfectly in model sailing. No mistakes are ever made. It's amazing. Barry's having some fun. Let's try to cross the fleet on port. I don't think it's going to happen, Barry. Barry tacks away. Gets pushed down the ladder by Dr. Bruce in the 1-6 red boat. Mark sailing away all by himself. Lonely Mark Olson. Clear air. Nobody to deal with. Nobody to talk to. Come on, Jennifer. This is funny stuff. You can
It's
laugh.
so funny.
You can laugh a little bit.
To laugh out loud.
All right. I've been working on new material all week. Let's see. Jess Atkins is still clawing away at Mark. Mark's just teasing him, letting him get closer. It's like your older brother in a foot race. He's just going to beat you by like 2 feet. So Mark's letting Jess taste a little bit of the lead, but might be crushing souls at the end. As Mark rounds the windward mark. Oh, Nick, what are you doing, Nick? Nick's on shore again. Nick! Stop running aground. All right, well, Nick's trip to A Fleet is going to be short-lived. Comes back down to B. Looks like Jess Atkins heading around the weather mark there, followed by George Pedrick again. Barry Donaher. Gary, no regatta is too far to drive to. Winton. And Larry making model sailing great again in Grant. Larry's trying to set the world record for protests, I think. That's what we heard. The Guinness Book. We call him in as we head downwind for the second time, Jennifer. Look at that, I can count to 2. As Mark just gives Jess a little look at his stern, just to say, nah, you might win, Jess. You might not. But Barry, on the other hand, has got some breeze. Jess has got some breeze. Everybody's got breeze. Breeze finally gets to Mark. Mark shoots out again out front, stretching his lead. The world's his oyster. You can go inside, outside. Heck, he could probably go around him twice. As the rest of the fleet tries to chase him down. As Mark makes leading this one wire to wire. Mr. Olson goes beachside again, inside. Sail up. Looks like Jess. Jess, you gonna be a leader or follower? Leader, follower, leader, follower. You're gonna follow Mark. Jess must like the angles on this side. Mark flops over on the starboard. Do some dancing with the fleet. The rest of the guys around the inside Mark too. All right, one person that dares to be different, George Pedrick in the 157, goes outside. Looking for a flyer. Nick calls for tree redress. New page in the rule book. Freddie's gonna have to look that one up, see what to do. George's trip by himself looks like it's not paying off. The rest of the fleet's sailing on by. Mark's in front. Barry has squeaked himself into second place. Jess having to do some ducking. Dr. Bruce administering some starboard love. Jess hoping to catch the shift here soon. Yeah, a little indecision. As Mr. Bowl in the Team Vermilion boat. Heads upwind together. Sourcing orange power, Vermilion power. Trying to cross the streams. But wow, Team Vermilion has squeaked up into third and fourth, maybe. That's Mark sails off to victory by himself. Lonely at the top. In fact, I can't even see his boat. Yeah, he's got to go through the finish line, Jennifer. He's going to come to the shore. So first was pretty boring. Gonna have to coach Mark up on how to make things exciting. But here's where the excitement starts. Got Jess coming in on port, Barry coming in on starboard. Who's gonna get there first? Oh, looks like Barry got it. Here comes the rest of the fleet. Dr. Bruce trying to squeak across the finish line. He makes it. Dr. Jim right behind him. All the docks sticking together. Followed by Dr. Elliott. What is this, a medical convention? We're ready for all emergencies here. As Craig Mackey, the 29, and Nick Allen, the tree killer, head towards the finish line. Nice job, Mark.